All right, everyone. This is the May 23rd, 2022 meeting of Environmental and Public Works Committee. Will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Blankley is excused. Mr. Florio.
Here.
Mr. Florio is present. Mr. Hebert.
Here.
Mr. Hebert is present. Ms. Hughes Smith.
Here.
Ms. Hughes Smith is present. Mr. Johns.
Here.
Mr. Johns is present. Mr. Mafucci. Here. Mr. Mafucci is present. Chairman McCabe is excused. President Lamar.
Here.
President Lamar is present.
Okay, an announcement here. The clerk's office is happy to announce that the audiovisual professionals have completed the necessary adjustments needed to address the microphones when streaming on YouTube. Going forward, all the microphones should only be considered live when unmuted by the clerk's office, when the legislators have obtained the floor. The clerk's office will continuously monitor each microphone in the case of any lapses or gaps that will have missed. Excuse me. Thank you. Okay, the public forum part of the meeting, is there anyone here signed up for the public forum?
There is not.
And is there anyone present who didn't sign up that would like to come up and do 2 minutes? Okay. Okay, we have a presentation today. Pat Gooch, Senior Planner for Monroe County Planning and Developmental Department, will now give a brief overview of the 2023-2028 Capital Improvement Program as it pertains to the Environmental and Public Works Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You should all have a copy of the recommended 2023-2028 CIP. This report reflects the culmination of an 11th-month process beginning in late summer, with the departments proposing a 6-year funding plan for capital projects. A committee reviews the proposed projects and requires changes based on project priority and fiscal constraints on the program. After review by the county executive, the CIP is submitted to the county planning board. The planning board reviews the CIP, holds a public hearing, and sets priorities for the capital budget year, which is the first year of the CIP, or 2023. The planning board returns the draft CIP to the county executive, who then submits the recommended CIP to your honorable body. At the June meeting of the legislature, you will set a public hearing for July, and then, upon your favorable review, vote to adopt the plan. There are no funding approvals associated with taking action on this referral. There are 4 sections of the CIP pertinent to this committee: the airport and 3 divisions of the Department of Environmental Services: pure waters, facilities, solid waste. The airport has a large program with 27 projects. Their program begins on page 23 of your CIP. There are no new airport projects in this CIP. Airport funding amounts and schedules are subject to change as FAA priorities change. FAA funding depends on shifting federal priorities, and so the airport shifts accordingly. The airport program accounts for 10.6% of the total recommended 2023-2028 capital program. Moving on to DES. The Pure Waters program begins on page 38. There are 16 projects in Pure Waters CIP this year. The first 4 projects listed, general improvements to the sanitary sewer system in each district, are funded with district cash. Please see the CIP supplement. And will not impact the district's will not impact the district's debt service payments. 3 new Pure Waters projects are introduced to the CIP in 2028, giving us time to prepare for this spending and further evaluate these needs. The Pure Waters program accounts for 16.8% of the total capital program. The Facilities Management program begins on page 46. There are 11 projects in this program. 1 new project, City Place General Improvements, is introduced in CIP 2028. The Facilities program accounts for 5.6% of the total capital program. The Solid Waste Division on pages 51 and 52 of your CIP accounts for 1.3% of the total capital program. Improvements to the MC Recycling Center and Resource Recovery Facility will be paid with enterprise cash from the operating budget. There are no changes in the recommended CIP as compared to the adopted CIP. I will be happy to take questions when you get to this item on your agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gooch. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. You have before you the April 25th, 2022 minutes of Environmental and Public Works Committee before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. Next item, new business. The next item on the agenda is
Referral number 22-0161, adopt 2023 to 2028 capital improvement program.
by Legislator DeFlorio, seconded by Legislator Hebert. Is there any other discussion? Legislator Hebert.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Through to the administration or the clerk, I'm not sure which, at about 2 o'clock today, a little before, we received a copy of the CIP electronically, and it has the word supplement, which is not in the printed CIP. Are these the same documents? I have.
Through the chair. The supplement is an additional piece of the CIP, which is only about 10 pages. In printing the original CIP, some of the information we include each year was left out. Specifically, that is the tables, including this is the cash funding portion that is normally in each department table. However, we left that out of the entire document, so we've added a supplement rather than reprinting the entire document.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Vice Chair, to the administration. I guess this is to the clerk. Was the supplement sent out as part of this electronic? Because it's 300 pages, and I tried to quickly find what was different. Couldn't find the supplement. You know where it's included? Through you, Mr. Vice Chair, to the administration. Summarize very quickly what the purpose of the CIP is financially.
Through the chair. Yes, the CIP is a long-term planning document, specifically 6 years. It is a document that is designed to help the county as a whole prioritize its spending and prepare for its needs and spending on capital improvements. So those are things that are generally buildings, facilities, infrastructure, things that are long-term investments that we need to make sure that we spend our money on wisely and importantly.
Thank you. Through Mr. Vice Chair, to the administration. For projects, say, in 2023 in the CIP, when were they priced?
The projects in the 2023 CIP, they would have been priced at the time that they were originally submitted, but those numbers are also updated by the departments annually. They will have current numbers. However, the numbers will potentially be different from what is bid out in the future.
Just to clarify through you, Mr. Vice Chairman, you're saying the numbers in this CIP are different from the numbers in last year's CIP, and they've all been updated.
They are updated where necessary when a project is changing or there have been amendments to that project.
Mr. Vice Chair of the administration, would you say that given inflation, building materials costs and labor costs have all gone up last year substantially? All of them have been repriced in this document?
That is a question, through the chair, that is a question that I can't answer as I do not prepare the bids.
Vice Chair, is there anyone else in the administration who can address that?
Through the chair, Mike Garland from DES. We develop our budgets, review existing budgets in the third and fourth quarter of the prior year. We have definitely seen escalation in materials and labor, and there'll be a subject of a subsequent referral. But we submit the prices to the best of our technical knowledge in current market. We will adjust on a project-by-project basis when we implement the project itself. If we have to adjust scope, we do, where necessary and where appropriate to stay within budget. But as you know, as our honorable body knows, we will come back to you if we need to make an adjustment to meet budgetary requirements for the project at hand. But I would say, as it relates to the DES emissions, that these reflect our best estimates given the current market conditions. Will they fluctuate? Definitely. We hope they go down, but we'll see.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Vice Chairman. You mentioned that this is prioritized. Could you address the process used to prioritize this in the planning, the various items in the planning board?
Through the chair. Through the chair. The priority projects are selected as the process moves forward. What that means is that as the CIP review committee selects all the projects or identifies the 6-year projects from the departments that need to occur, those are then submitted to the Monroe County Planning Board, and that honorable body reviews each of the projects and through a ranking form identifies the projects they believe to be the most important or timely to maintain our facilities and buildings, or are important because of certain trends that need to occur, economic development projects or things like that.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Vice Chairman, the administration. Are there standards used to identify the priority of the projects, and what information is provided to individual members of the planning board to allow them to assess the importance of these projects?
Through the chair, the planning board is provided all of the materials that the planning department and the CIP review committee see, which is a collection of documents that identify the projects, the anticipated costs of the project, and the justification for the projects.
Mr. Vice Chairman.
Legislator Huber, could you speak into the mic, because
Certainly, I'm sorry.
the folks at home are hoping to hear what you have to say.
I apologize. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Through to the administration, how is that material you just said provided to the members of the planning board? I sit on the planning board and I've never seen that.
The members of the planning board, through the chair, the members of the planning board are able to access a CIP online application and paper documents as necessary. And in that application, there are details of each of the projects. And as the projects are a 6-year timeframe, all the materials from the prior year apply to the following years, besides the latest projects, which are in this case, the 2028 projects. And that justification and rationale from each department is identified in the CIP application, which is made available to the planning board applicants.
Through you, Mr. Vice Chair, to the administration, just for your information, I have never been able to access a county application. I'm in my 7th year on the planning board and on in the legislature, and it has been identified as a problem and has not been able. So I have not been able to access any of the materials you're referring to, nor have I ever heard them referenced before today's meeting.
Through the chair, we will make sure to fix that.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. I yield the floor.
Chair recognizes,
Yes, thank you. And through the chair to the administration, just I guess a couple of questions with regard to projects that are scheduled in 2023 and how they relate to some of the projects that currently are sort of moving through the body this year. For example, there is $1 million in the 2023 CIP for Frontier Field seating and caulking replacement. So is that a separate project from the project that's currently being considered this year for Frontier Field? That would be the first question.
Through the chair, there are 3 major capital projects at Frontier Field. One is the Major League Baseball improvements, MLB improvements. The second one is seating and caulking, which is this project. The third is the facility and patron improvements, which was a subsequent referral in the last cycle. And this is the second installment of funding. The total project cost for the seating and caulking, we're estimating at $3 million, and $2 million was authorized in 2022, in 2022 capital budget. So this is the last installment, if you will, for this project.
Thank you. Through the chair to the administration, so similar question with the city place electrical and mechanical improvements, the 1,600,000 in the CIP for next year. Is that in addition to the 16 million plus resolution that we have in front of us tonight?
Through the chair, this was a separate project that was identified prior to the work that we'll discuss it in a later referral. But through the chair, this is the construction dollars associated with electrical mechanical improvements. We had 400,000 in 2020 this year for a design of that. This is very specific, unrelated to the renovations on 8th floor. Has to do with security for electric reliability of systems within City Place, particularly servers and other critical infrastructure and mechanical and HVAC devices that support those servers and other critical infrastructure within the building.
So completely separate from what we're looking at tonight.
Chair, that is correct.
Thank you. Next question through the chair to the administration. General elevator reconstruction and replacement. Do you have specific buildings that you are looking to work on next year specifically?
Through the chair, yes. County office building, PSB, jail, Hall of Justice, Frontier Field, and 111 Westfall. And we'll be evaluating those elevators, determining if it's more of a repair, more of a substantial repair, or a replacement itself. But we'll be evaluating the condition and needs of all the elevators in those buildings.
Thank you. And as a follow-up question through the chair, so the 3 million allocated for next year, are you thinking that that's going to cover all of the either repair / replacement, or will that be prioritized and some of it pushed into 2024 if needed?
Through the chair, our intent is, we'll progress an assessment, prioritize where the most critical needs are, estimate costs, again, if it's a substantial repair versus a replacement. And the intent would be to start construction in 2023 for certain buildings and then continue that work into 2024.
Thank you. And then more questions. So through the chair to the administration, specific general improvements to county office building. I don't see plumbing listed here in your listing of things to be included in next year's plan. Is there any plan to look at the plumbing in this building, specifically the plumbing on the 4th floor?
Through the chair, we do have a very substantial heating and ventilation, air conditioning project that is scheduled for construction this year and into next year. But we do have funding available that we can address plumbing issues. We are aware of those, and we can prioritize those ahead of that work as well, too. So they will be addressed. We are replacing all of the HVAC within this building, and we will be addressing plumbing as well, too. But I don't expect we'll do a complete replacement like we are with the HVAC.
Well, thank you for the answer, and I appreciate that, but it seems like we are tonight considering a substantial amount of money for one floor across the street at City Place. And meanwhile, the bathroom facilities on this floor have been in major disrepair for a number of years. So it is shameful to me that employees have to utilize the facilities here and that it's distressing to me to hear that that is not being included or prioritized in your plan for next year.
Through the chair, we can address that specifically through this particular project, general improvements for county buildings.
Thank you. And then the last question is, what specific plans are being pushed out for next year for the 111 Westfall building reconstruction? I've had several constituents reach out to me with regard to elevator issues, asbestos issues, just heating, water breaks in that building. So I'm just wondering what the plan is for that building. And again, $1 million doesn't seem like it's going to cut it if it's going to take over 16 million to reconstruct one floor across the street. Chair. 2.5 floors. I stand corrected.
Through the chair, yes, as you heard, to clarify, City Place, which again we can talk more about, obviously is more than one floor in the building. We're actually doing work throughout the building, but we can talk more in detail. But this is an initial amount of funding that we have for critical priorities within 111 Westfall facility. But as you can see, in 2028, we have identified $2.8 million. And what we expect to follow beyond that is a more substantial amount of money in 2029 for construction. Because we're aware of the needs within the building's core infrastructure that you referenced. We want to begin to address some of those in 2023 with that 1.1 million. But we know there's more work to be done within the building. We're aware of that. You know, we've heard from the employees in the building as well as department heads in the building that have expressed their concerns. And that will be the subject of the work that we're going to begin with a more comprehensive project beginning in 2028 and then going into 2029.
So, through the chair to the administration, how many floors are there at 111? My memory's failing me at this point.
Through the chair, 9.
And through the chair to the administration, I guess I just would like to go on the record stating my concern that with the number of employees that work in that building, in the disrepair and repair issues that I've been notified over the last 2 years are going on in that building, it seems like putting a Band-Aid on next year and then not touching that building again for 5 years is not going to cut it.
If I may address your concern, legislator, through the chair, next year we intend to deal with certain specific areas that we know need attention, and that's the roof replacement, parking lots, as well as some of the HVAC infrastructure within the building. But again, the more comprehensive project that's over $20 million, it's approximately $22 million, will begin in design in 2028. And again, we'll identify issues throughout the building, many of that you've identified: fire security systems, ceiling replacement, remaining asbestos abatement, new windows, a much more comprehensive renovation of the facility.
So through the chair to the administration, do you think that the workplace environment right now is healthy and appropriate for the employees that are currently working there on some of those floors? I mean, I was sent pictures of water leaking down through the walls and heard horror stories of employees that had to walk up 5 and 6 flights of stairs because the elevators were broken.
Through the chair, again, the elevators will be addressed as part of
Yeah,
the other
understood.
project. We have, again, being an older building, we have had mechanical failures that have resulted in water leaks and things of that nature, which we address. We have those occur in many of our older facilities. We're aware of those, we deal with those, but we feel that the plan we've developed here will get us through, get some core work done in 2023, and then we'll begin the design in 2028. As issues come up, whether they're employee complaints or whether or not we need to address something very specific, we can address issues as they come up through general building improvements if need be. But I feel we have the resources to be able to address concerns that may be brought to our attention.
Thank you. I yield the floor.
More questions? Chair recognizes.
Thank you. Through you to the administration. Regarding MCC, I see there is a concern about pedestrian accommodations and ADA compliance presently. So just curious as to why that capital improvement isn't.
Chair, there is a project at MCC for pedestrian safety that's scheduled for 2022 and 2023. And again, that's a subject of a referral that we'll be talking about shortly. Yeah, and just through the chair, the final installment of funding for that project is in 2023 for a total amount of $464,000. That's on page 12 of the CIP.
Okay, are there any other questions? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carry. Item carries.
Referral number 22-0162, amend the 2022 to 2027 capital improvement program and 2022 capital budget to add a project entitled Monroe Community College Woke Health Care Center. Authorize financing for the project and authorize a contract with the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York.
By Legislator Hebert and seconded by President Lamar. Any questions?
Thank you. Through you to the administration. Could you clarify the Woke Health Center? Is it training students? Students to receive health care?
This is for training students, healthcare technicians.
Legislator Hebert.
The facilities for healthcare education compared to any at the Brighton campus, and if so, have those already been renovated, or do you plan on renovating them in the near future? Or far future, for that matter?
Through the chair, I'm not aware of any specific plans that MCC has for renovation of the Walk Nursing School. Again, that's a relatively new facility. This is training that's offered in the downtown campus, but because of the need, primarily through COVID and the need to, and within the industry to focus on healthcare technicians, this is a very specific project, again, funded through the Walk Foundation and SUNY to address that growing demand for healthcare technicians.
Well, maybe through you, Mr. Vice Chair, thank you, but is there anything similar on the Brighton campus to the?
Through the chair, I understand it's primarily nurses, the nursing school at MCC, Brighton campus, and this will focus on the technician training in the downtown campus.
Are there any other questions? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carry. Item carries.
Referral number 22-0163, amend the 2022 capital budget and authorize financing to increase funding for the space utilization and renovation of City Place project.
By President Lamar, seconded by Legislator Florio. Any discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the administration, are there any major scale scope changes that are driving this $7 million increase, or is this just the inflation, labor, and materials costs?
Through the chair, it's a combination of both. There are some scope changes to the project that we identified as we got into design that we felt were critical to address. First and foremost, the roof replacement that's above the 8th floor, elevators 2, 3, and 4, carpeting on the remaining additional floors within the building because it's original carpeting since the mid-90s renovation, and some additional HVAC work. And that scope, value of that scope of this within the $16 million total project, the value of that scope is $3.8 million. So as we got into the design, we realized we needed to address that critical infrastructure now.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Vice Chair, to the administration, those projects you just listed, they are the increased scope projects that and et cetera?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Okay. Through you, Mr. Chairman, that means that the original project, $0.2 million greater than what it was priced at a year ago, correct?
Through the chair, that is correct.
Break down that 3.2 million at all?
Through the chair, majority of the increases are associated with construction materials, primarily the components that go into building out the walls, studs, drywall, even the HVAC systems, electrical componentry has all gone up in cost. We've had LaChase run that estimate, and taking into consideration the recent inflation in materials, the dramatic inflation of materials into this estimate. So we feel that it's reflective of current conditions. And the cost per square foot is reasonable given the current market.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chairman, just something I've observed, consideration. There is a lot of money floating around right now from the various federal government funding stream sources. A number of counties, both in and out of New York State, are now delaying projects such as this, anticipation or at least hopes that things like building materials costs will decline. Has this or any other project that you're aware of?
Through the chair, no. We have not delayed projects for that reason.
Through you, Mr. Vice Chairman, is there any explanation for why that?
Through the chair, could you please repeat
Sure.
the question?
I'm sorry, you were speaking. I should have waited. Through you, Mr. Vice Chair, administration. Is there any reason, logic, whatever you want to call it, for why you have not considered delaying projects given peak in building materials costs at this point in time?
Well, through the chair, again, we're hopeful that the volatility will stabilize, and we know that changes can change very quickly. I would say, given the programmatic needs and the priorities, that it is to our advantage to move the project forward at this time. It is also a subject of our apprenticeship training program as well too, that requires 10% of the workforce be apprentices. And we feel that that from a workforce standpoint as well too is a betterment as a result of this project. The Chair, we have people currently in temporary spaces. In this, given the increase in staff in particular, for a number of these departments, that it's critical that we get them into appropriately designed and built space.
Legislator DeFlorio.
Thank you. Through the chair to the administration, so just kind of to follow up on that thought that you just mentioned, you indicated that there were employees in temporary locations at the moment. But are there, I guess, critical health and safety issues either in the temporary locations or at City Place at this time that would make it problematic to delay renovations?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'm sure the legislature will remember we tried to advance this project on two separate occasions last year. Both of those were denied by the legislature. The earlier conversation about 111 Westfall Road, coupled with this, the building across the street is over 100 years old. There has not been a major investment in that since it was rehabbed in, I believe it was 1995. This building is also suffering from a lot of delayed and deferred maintenance. In terms of health and safety issues, we have a roof that is leaking across the street that really is something that needs to be addressed. And also, I believe, Mr. Garland had mentioned earlier, we have a real problem with elevators. There was a time here not that long ago where both of the elevators in this building were out for a period of a few days. And then we've had that the one elevator was out for, I believe it was months. Frankly, the elevators across the street really aren't in a whole lot better shape from an age standpoint or a maintenance and repair standpoint with that. So again, I think it's our opinion, and again, particularly given the programmatic needs that is the public defender's office is expanding and changes related to that are and the conflict defender, all of that together has really caused programmatic needs and changes that we have. And we do have temporary lease agreements that were all done in contemplation of having City Place done and renovated on the timeline that we're looking at. So it's all of those factors together that really have led us to go down the road we're going down.
Thank you. And I guess just as a follow-up to that, I mean, we're just trying to understand priorities. Obviously, to Legislator Hebert's point, the cost of things right now, as it stands today, have gone up significantly. A lot of people that I know are putting off home renovations and projects because of the cost right now. So we're just trying to have a better understanding of the need to help us to make good decisions about prioritizing spending, which is why I asked the question. So thank you.
Legislator Hebert.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Just a couple quick follow-ups. On pages 4 and 5 of the CIP is the priority of the capital projects for the entire document. I don't seem to find this project in here. Am I missing? Tell me where it is.
Through the chair, the reason being is that this is amending the 2022 capital budget.
Okay, then in the 2022 capital budget, through you, Mr. Chairman, roughly where would this project fall in a priority list similar to this one? One in 2022 is going to be very similar to this one.
Through the chair, Chairman, as you know, this project will be considered at the planning board on the 26th of this month. It wasn't ranked in priority as part of the CIP before because it was one of those few projects that are created outside of the formal process. So that's why you wouldn't find it necessarily in the 2022 CIP book per se. But again, it will be discussed at the planning board on Thursday.
Chair recognizes Legislator Mafucci.
What's the estimated timeline for the project that will provide spaces for the Office of Mental Health, the Conflict Offender, Assigned Counsel, Pretrial Services, and Law Department Children's Services Unit?
Through the chair, we expect occupancy in that space at the end of 2023.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item carries.
Referral number 22-0164. Authorize a contract with Hunt Engineers, Architects, Land Surveyors, and Landscape Architect for professional design services for the fiber optic master plan project.
Moved by Legislator DeFlorio, second by Legislator Hebert. Questions or discussion? Legislator DeFlorio.
As to the chair to the administration, can I get just a rough idea of where we stand right now with fiber optics throughout Monroe County?
Through the chair, as the referral states, there's about 360 miles of fiber optic cable throughout the county that was built from the 90s into the 2000s. And we have several connection points for radio communications, other facilities. And right now we've identified about 80 of 300 sites that we would like the county, we recommend, connect to. So there are about 300 connection points, and we've identified about 80 that we would look very closely at connecting to. Again, these are for county operations, for municipal operations. We are out, but it's not a complete network yet. And our intent is to do a needs assessment, identify where we have critical needs that support county operations and other municipal operations. What is the bandwidth in those locations? What capacity do we have? And then what improvements do we need to make for a complete, reliable, and resilient system? Because the county just continues to rely more heavily each year on the fiber optic network, and so does the municipalities. They benefit from that, obviously. So we have a long list of where we're connected and identified areas where we would like to connect. They could be pump stations, they could be towers, they could be other town facilities that might be connected to town hall, but not a DPW per se. And that's what this report will do, and we'll prioritize it, and then we'll develop a capital plan, which we would expect would then make its way into the CIP.
Thank you. I seem to remember when I was on the town board that it was being late at that time, and that was probably at least 10 years ago. So I just wondered. So there are, through the chair, there are some municipalities in some areas where you do have penetration, just not as in-depth as you would like or to the bandwidth that you want to have.
That's exactly right.
Okay, thank you. I yield the
Okay,
floor.
Legislator Hebert.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman of the administration. Have any idea if these lack of fiber connections have any connection whatsoever with what I'm hearing are dropped fire department and police halls.
Through the chair, I couldn't speak to that.
Chair of the administration, if you could find somebody who could perhaps just address that.
Through you, Mr. President, no, they do not.
Legislator Mafucci.
As a member of the Broadband Task Force, I'm thrilled to see that this kind of thing is moving forward. And I'm certainly hoping that as this gets done, we continue to expand access to high-speed broadband throughout the county. So this is a great thing. Happy to see it. Thank you.
Optic network, and just to clarify in my mind, this fiber optic network is solely for municipal use as opposed to residential or business use in the municipalities. Is that correct, or am I?
Through the chair, that is correct.
Okay, thank you. So through the chair to the administration, this will not address any community needs in terms of broadband access.
Through the chair, that study is a much broader, comprehensive community-wide study. And it's important that the county understand where its needs are. If there is some synergy there between the county system and a broader community-wide system, that's really the subject of a separate study. But we're recommending that we have a clear understanding of what our needs are for daily county operations. So by the time our study is complete, the other study will be complete, we'll be able to answer any questions they might have about our system and where the needs are.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Legislator Mafucci.
Having been part of the Broadband Task Force, we heard about the fact that this county system, which existed for years, was really kind of neglected. And it's nice to see that this gets done so that our county operations can have access to state-of-the-art, high-speed broadband. And the intent of the task force is, again, to try to meet the needs of those communities, rural and urban, and possibly some suburban areas that really don't have access to high-quality broadband. So I think it's a great first step. And I know there's two studies going on, and I'm hoping that we can accomplish both. Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, aye. Any opposed? Okay, ayes have it, the item carries.
Referral number 22-0165, authorize a contract with Hunt Engineers, Architects, Land Surveyors, and Landscape Architect for professional service for the Monroe Community College Expand Virtual Learning Center project.
By Legislator Hebert, seconded by President Lamar. Questions or discussion? Legislator Smith.
I have a timeline for this.
We're hoping that the construction will be complete and ready for the fall semester of 2023.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, seeing none. Voyage. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it, the item carries.
Referral number 22-0166, authorize a contract with Fisher Associates for professional design services for the Monroe Community College Improved Safety of Downtown Campus Entrance Project.
Okay, moved by President Lamar, seconded by Legislator DeFlorio. Questions or discussions? Unusual. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, item carries.
Referral number 22-0167, authorize the implementation of a project labor agreement for the Specialized Secure Detention Facility Capital Project.
Legislator DeFlorio, seconded by Legislator Hebert. Any questions, any discussion? Legislator Hebert.
Chairman, quick question to the administration. Could you give a short summary of why this PLA will save money as
Yep, through the chair, the project labor agreement, which, as you know, we've submitted a number of those through your honorable body in past years. And there are a number of concessions that the union trades make, and primarily around uniform work conditions. And each union has different rules by which they govern themselves and conduct their work. So we work with the unions to identify areas that they're willing to make concessions, if you will, that result in savings. It can be work break time reduction, it can be off-site fabrication, no holiday pay. There's union apprentice ratios, industry funds. There's some very specific things that pertain to the unions that they're willing to give a little, if you will. And it results in savings for the county as well as uniform work conditions. It would also provide a certain guaranteed amount of union workforce. Non-union contractors can still bid on projects that have PLAs. We've seen non-union contractors successfully bid on projects with project labor agreements, but it does prescribe them to bring a certain amount of union labor onto the project. They can bring a certain amount of their own employees as well, too. But we have things like flexible shift times. We have 10-hour work days that the contractor can utilize to minimize startup and shutdowns. All those translate into savings, incremental, but they add up over time.
Thank you for that summary, Mr. Garland. As a 90-page document, as I read it, I was over my head. Appreciate it.
Okay, any other discussions or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, item carries.
Referral number 22-0168, determination of significance pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act for Tropical Exhibit in Main Entry Plaza Project.
Okay, moved by Legislator Hebert, seconded by President Lamar. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, item carries.
Referral number 22-0169, authorize the implementation of a project labor agreement for the Tropical Exhibit Main Entry Plaza Project.
Moved by President Lamar, seconded by Legislator DeFlorio. Any questions or discussion? Oops. Legislator Hebert.
Just a quick question through the administration. Garland, you don't need to summarize everything you did for the last one. Is there anything unique in this one that's different from the other one?
Through the chair, no, there is not. But if I may add too, there is an allocation that we are providing for the multi-craft apprenticeship preparatory program. That's common for both project labor agreements. That's relatively new. We did that on a prior PLA, but very beneficial to help those individuals interested in becoming apprentices go through that program so they're pre-qualified.
Yield the floor.
Hughes Smith, right?
Investment
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, ayes have it, item carries.
Referral number 22-0170, authorize an intermunicipal agreement with the city of Rochester for the county to supply chilled water to the city's air conditioning system at the Blue Cross Arena.
Legislator DeFlorio, seconded by legislator. Questions or discussion? Legislator Hebert, oh, okay. Legislator Hebert.
Due to the administration, is there an estimated monetary value for this contract?
Through the chair, approximately $25,000 a year.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, item carries.
Referral number 22-0171, classification of action and determination of significance pursuant to State Environmental Quality Review Act for East Avenue Sidewalk Project funded through the Monroe County Community Development Block Grant Program /Home.
By legislator Hebert, seconded by President Lamar. Questions or discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries.
Referral number 22-0172, classification of action and determination of significance pursuant to State Environmental Quality Review Act for the Archer Road Sidewalk Project funded through the Monroe County Community Development Block Grant Program /Home.
By President Lamar, seconded by legislator DeFlorio. Questions or discussion? None? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries.
Referral number 22-0173, classification of action and determination of significance pursuant to State Environmental Quality Review Act for the First-Time Home Buyers Program funded through the Monroe County Home Investment Partnerships Program.
Okay, moved by legislator DeFlorio, seconded by legislator Hebert. Any questions, discussion? None. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Item carries.
Referral number 22-0174, classification of action and determination of significance pursuant to State Environmental Quality Review Act for the acquisition, rehab, resale program funded through the Monroe County Home Investment Partnerships Program.
Legislator Hebert, seconded by President Lamar. Discussion, questions? None. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries.
Referral number 22-0187, amend the 2022 capital budget to provide an increase in funding for the Monroe County Library System Fleet Replacement Project and authorize an interfund transfer.
Moved by President Lamar, seconded by legislator DeFlorio. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Carries.
Referral number 22-0189, classification of action and determination of significance pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act for the sale of county-owned surplus real property at the April 2022 public auction.
Legislator DeFlorio, seconded by legislator Hebert. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries.
Referral number 22-0197, classification of action and determination of significance pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act for the lease of office and laboratory space at 819 through 829 West Main Street, Rochester, New York.
Moved by legislator DeFlorio, seconded by legislator Hebert. Any questions or discussion? Oh, legislator,
0197.
Thank you.
0197?
I want to make sure the record's right.
This was a matter of importance, so
Oh, I understand.
President Lamar.
My notes had it as 195.
oh, I'm missing one in the agenda. Then it looks like 5.
Go ahead.
That's fine. We had typo in the notes. Thank
Type
you.
on the notes.
Okay, all those in favor, please,
197 or 95?
197 is the
And what was the address for West Main Street?
819 through 827.
Okay.
any other questions or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any nays? Item carries. Are there any other matters to come before this committee today? Okay, seeing none. Seeing that there's no other matters, the May 23rd, 2022 meeting of the Environmental and Public Works Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of this committee is scheduled for Monday, June 27th, 2022 at 5:15 PM.